everybody, good morning. This is Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. The other day my friend Jen came. We had lunch and a laugh. She was in my sewing room. No great big thing. I was just working on a few projects here and there, and we were catching up on some news that we haven't seen each other for a little while. Life gets in the way, but she bought lunch for us. It was so nice for Ian and Maxwell and I. So that video is to come. And also I'm working on my bandana quilt, you people who have been following along. I think it's just a few of you. I'm going to be putting my bandana quilt together. As you can refer back to that playlist, we've trimmed up our blocks, so that video will be coming. But I was just working on a little tiny tutorial for the morning here. As you know, I love my sunglasses and my glasses because my eyes are a little bit funky and I have to wear sunglasses. So I have quite a lot of pairs of sunglasses, but they always get shoved in my handbags and wherever in the car, and I'm thinking I do need to get a few cases for them. And I have the hard cases that you can buy, or more decorative, but I was thinking about it. I'm thinking I'm just going to make a few just so they don't get scratched up, and that's what this tutorial is. It's a little bit off the wall here, but that's okay. I had a little prototype because I had to make the pattern. This is my little prototype here of my little glasses case, and the reason I'm showing you this one is because if you're going to follow this tutorial, all your sunglasses or your glasses are a little bit different size. These, for example, are quite wide when I put them in my case, and my case, I started out by experimenting with this little pattern, and it was a little bit too big, even though these were wide glasses. So I just took in a little bit here, but I explained that. And then this is the one of my sunglass cases, and I did the tutorial on this case here, and I was having the heck of a time putting these little snaps on. I finally did it at the end off camera. I ruined about 10 of them. No wonder they give you a million of them, because like to squeeze, and I didn't know, oh, whatever, but I fixed that. They snaps real nice. So this is the little tutorial, and as you can see, these glasses are a little bit flatter. So the pattern itself that I'm showing you how to make is a little bit funky. But if you just follow the instructions, I'll put some a still picture up, and this is the cardboard half of the pattern that we're going to be using. I show you exactly sort of the registration marks to get to this point. Again, it might not be absolutely perfect as a pattern that you could download and cut out, or, you know, but I do my best. I do my best to try to show you the different measurements to get to this point. And it's a little, instead of just being flat, this little tutorial, it actually has darts so your glasses fit in. Now I made this with just a iron-on interfacing, a stiffer iron-on interfacing. By all means, you could put I would think a very thin batting in here just to make it a little bit more substantial. And I suppose if you didn't have the snaps here, you could just do a little piece of Velcro, or a hook and a sew-on snap, or a little magnetic snap that you can get. I actually have the tool to put these snaps on. That was a pain in the neck, though. Man alive, I went through about 20 of them. No, about 10 of them. I messed up. Because you have to figure out what piece goes into what, but I got there in the end. It's a sweet little thing. Again, maybe for little presents. If you know somebody has glasses, they're really nice, actually. And I think that was really nice. And again, I made this one a little bit bigger. That was my first one, because the pattern came out a little bit big. But for this size here, has the sides on it. If you follow these instructions, and again, I do it step by step. So I do hope you enjoy this tutorial, wherever this came from. My next few videos will be Jen coming in our sewing room, just having a laugh, and my bandana quilt. So again, thanks for following along, folks. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. All right, bye. So the first thing we're going to do to make our glasses case is to make the paper pattern. And what I have here is I have a marker, I have some paper scissors, I have my ruler, my square ruler. That's just what I've grabbed. I've grabbed a small paper plate. That's it, just a paper plate in this country. I believe it's about 8.5 inches, something like that. This is just a guide paper plate for a curve. And then I have a piece of card from my comic book board cards. And this is just going to make half the pattern, and then we can just flip it over. I have a piece of copy paper, and I have my pattern, which these have the measurements on, which I'm going to show you how to make your paper pattern. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing about an inch in off of our copy paper. Make a nice straight line at 9 inches. Now we could use the edge of the paper, but I quite like the visual of the line and where I'm going to be cutting my pattern out. Now what we're going to be doing is you want to take your ruler and you want to mark down from this 9-inch line, you want to mark down 6 inches and just make a line at 6 inches, okay? All right. Then you're wanting to take your ruler and just square your paper up on the bottom, up on your mat, and you're going to go in your ruler 3 1/4 inches. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3 1/4 inches, and I'm going to draw a line at 3 1/4 inches. This is the bottom of our pattern. So right now your piece of paper should be looking like this. Okay, now from your 6-inch marking there, take your ruler to 2 3/4 inches. Again, lining everything up nice and square on your mat, 2 3/4 inches, and make a line across. These are just sort of registration marks to make this curve. Everyone's curve is going to be slightly different, but this is as pretty close as I can get to getting it pretty nice and curved. So now what we're going to be doing is from this point, from our bottom point here, we're going to be going up about an inch at a slight angle, just at a slight angle to make our notch here on our pattern. Just go up from it about an inch, and then about an inch, not a little bit less than an inch wide, come back down about an inch. All right, so we have our notch. Okay, and then we're going to again go about up about an inch. Okay, like that. And again, what we're going to trying to achieve here is this sort of a man's head with a shoulder, the man's curved head with his shoulder. So I'm doing the best I can to give you the sort of the registration marks to make this. Now, about 2.5 inches up from this line here, about 2.5 inches, you're going to be going over on this line, going up 2.5 inches, going over to the 3.5 inch line. Okay, so we're at the 2.5 inch line here, and I'm over at the 3.5 inch line, and I'm going to be making a mark there. Okay, so again, I'll repeat myself. This is 9 inches down all the way. This is to the 6-inch mark here. This is the 3 1/4 inch line on the bottom, and then you're going up an inch, down an inch, and over an inch. Okay, now from this point, the point of the notch there, as you can see on my pattern, that point, I'm going to be just making another registration mark at about just above that notch, about 4 inches, just about 4 inches over there. Okay, so that's about 4 inches from this point to this point. All right, so as you can see now, we're going to just be connecting the dots. Here's the man's shoulder, and then with the paper plate, we're going to go over and try to make this curve as best as possible. So what we do is we take our paper plate, and it's not going to be perfect, but what I want you to do is to make sure that your paper plate or your circle is at this registration mark here and that registration mark, and then it's a little bit, this goes a little bit up, then we can make the general curve of the man's head. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be putting my paper plate on this mark here and on that mark there. And then follow it up to a certain point, and then I'm going to take this away, and as you can see, I have to, by myself, just draw a gentle line at the top of his head from that point to that point. Okay? There's the man's head. All right? Now, and then again, I'm going to be doing the shoulder from this registration mark here to that one, to this bottom, like so. All right? Now, let me just see if that matches up with my sort of pattern I've made. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little bit wide. It's slightly wide. But when we go to cut this out, I can just maybe just slightly wide. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it just a little bit inside that line. My Sharpie, if you notice, took up that mark. So now I'm going to cut it really on those registration measurements that I did. I'm going to cut it out like so. I do have a master pattern. I'm going to make my notch like so. Okay? And just see if that goes pretty much to my master pattern with my measurements that I did. Maybe a little bit slightly off, but that's the measurements that you need to make this pattern. Now what I'm going to do, and I'll put these up I'll put these up so you can see them and make real good notes. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my pattern, if you can see, on my card, and I will do it on the edge here because I have two nice straight edges. I'm going to be marking that like that, holding it like that, and I'll just mark my notch out, my little shoulder, and then my head, following my paper around to that point, and then I'll be cutting this out because I want a nice hard pattern. All right. So as I said in the beginning, this is a wonderful project to use up 10-inch squares. So I have two 10-inch squares here, which coordinate from my inside and my outside. And what I have is, you can use whatever packaging or whatever you want to use. I have a roll here of iron-on interfacing. It has like a linen side here, and then it has the gluey, knobbly side. And I'm just going to prepare my fabric here. I'm just going to slice off a bit, about 10 inches. And I'm going to go over to my ironing board, and I'm going to iron with the knobbly side down. I'm going to iron that to the wrong side, not the right, not the pretty side. I'm going to iron it to the wrong side of my fabric. So what I've done here is I have interfaced with a fairly strong weight. I can't tell you what this is. I just got this online. I got it from Amazon. I don't know what manufacturing it is, but and I got a lot of it. And as you can see, it's only about 12 inches wide or so, 11 inches wide. But whatever iron-on interfacing, I recommend something a little bit a little bit more substantial. So now what we're going to do, that again is to the wrong side of my 10-inch square. So now what I'm going to do, just with a pen, I'm going to center my pattern. And I want to make sure I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom or all the way to the top, because I want to have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. What I'm going to do is I then, with the right side, the pretty side of that piece of 10-inch square to the pretty side of that 10-inch square, I'm going to pin them together. I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew this notch, okay? I'm going to bring this pretty side together with that notch there. You see that? And I'm going to sew that at 1/4 of an inch. What I've just done is I have sewn these as it were, they're darts, okay? They're just darts. These 2 little notches, I've sewn that on that side there, and I've pinned that, you can see that. And I'm starting at the edge, 1/4 inch in, and I'm just sewing right off this dart, 1/4 of an inch. I take a few stitches well after to sort of secure those threads. Pinch and pull it so you don't stress that dart. I'm going to come around. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the right sides together. And because we cut these pretty side to pretty side, as you can see, the darts fit perfectly and the curves fit perfectly, okay? So now I'm going to sew these. I just put some pins in here. I'm going to sew these. I'll put these pins like this. I'm going to leave an opening at the bottom here so we can turn it. You can see that, yeah. So we can turn it about a 2 or 3 inch opening right there. And I'm going to pin this all the way along. Now, if you've ever watched me do an opening, you know that when you go to turn your fabric, there can be a lot of stress on this opening here. So I actually start, instead of just starting and going around and stopping here, I actually go off the fabric this way, and I'll just do a 1/4 inch little stitching there, and as it were, it's making a stop in the fabric. Now I'm going to lift my presser foot, and now I'm going to start my sewing. I'm going to open these little darts up so there's no bulk, and as you can see, they match beautifully. And again, I'm just stitching this at 1/4 of an inch. Now what I am going to do, I got to get my bigger scissors. I'm going to clip the corners here, okay? I'm going to clip into this curve here, taking out as much bulk as possible without cutting your stitches, of course. So as you can see, I'm ironing this really well, pulling out that seam there. And this is the inside. What I'm doing is I'm pushing that dart to make sure it's like a really nice dart on both sides, because that's what makes the bag sort of more dimensional than a flat case. As you can see on the outside, you can't see the lining fabric. And here are my little darts. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to my machine, and I'm going to, as you can see, that, hopefully that's in the, yeah, this turned edge in here has not been stressed, and it has turned under quite beautifully. I just match these edges up, pull that up like that, and down like that. I'm going to iron that bottom edge. I'm going to go over to my machine, and I'm going to top stitch that bottom edge there